Today we are reading about the appearance of Lord Brahma. Next day, after 13 of the 3 months.
No.
Today, give direction. Nama, my obeisance. Kuya, unto you. Anshu, in duties. Yajna, O worshipful one. Navasakishu, within our working capacity. Yeah, which Kripa doing Iha in this world, Vishna pain, Vishva everywhere, Amutra in the next world, Cha in it should be Gati progress. And say, O worshipful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity, so that we can follow and pertain in this life and progress in the next. Please repeat. O worshipful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity, so that we can follow it for faith in this life, in progress in the next. Purport. Brahma is the direct recipient of Vedic knowledge from the personality of Godhead, and anyone discharging his entrusted duties of recipient succession from Brahma is sure to maintain in this life with salvation in the next. Specific succession from Brahma is called Brahma Sampradaya, and it descends as follows: Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhava, Muni, Buddha, Prajna, Padmabha, Nirahari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayapataka, Vyasa, Nidhi, Rajya, Jayadana, Purushottam, Brahma, Kirta, Vyasakirta, Lakshmipati, Vajrapuri, Vishwarapuri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Damodar, and Sri Rupa Goswami, and others, the other 6 Goswamis, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Das Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Jagannath Das Bhakti, Bhakti-Vinod Thakur, Gaur Kishornath Babaji, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. This line of succession from Brahma is spiritual, whereas the genealogical succession from Manu is material. But both are on the progressive march toward the same goal of Krishna consciousness. So there you have it, folks. The disciplic succession going all the way back to Krishna. We are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has connected us with specific succession and has laid the teachings of the ability for devotees to become, by following his instructions, they can become pure devotees. We continue the specific succession by acting in their own right as another link to the original. I'm not really qualified to give a class for so many other devotees. Reservoir of sinful contaminated activities. I'm blessed by the link of the succession that runs this temple. To come up and try to say what I can remember about the last person mentioned in this succession. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You know that Srila Prabhupada was just Krishna as the Jagat Guru. Kumbh Mela. Has everybody heard the news that Srila Prabhupada has been recognized by the entire Vaishnava community as well as everybody else at the Kumbh Mela as being the official guru, the Jagat Guru, the spiritual master of the universe. And we are so very, very fortunate to have a service connection to His Divine Grace and all. I was first time I saw Srila Prabhupada was a poster in Portland, Oregon in 1974. Srila Prabhupada had come 2 years earlier to Oregon and we programmed and issued some devotees like Tirupati group and the devotees, they advertised Srila Prabhupada's coming to Oregon with posters that they glued to telephone poles. And they used a lot of glue. So these posters are still there 2 years later. You can see that they were put on so that they wouldn't come off. So I was walking down the street and I looked at one of them and I thought, I saw Srila Prabhupada, a picture of him. And I thought, what a powerful person. And then by the influence of George Harrison and the Beatles, I became interested in Krishna consciousness. And until I found a devotee who gave me a little card and invited me to the Hare Krishna Temple in Portland, Oregon, 2805 Southeast Hawthorne Street. I've been raised as a Christian, and I had been to church that morning. I was going to church every Sunday, and there was a pastor that was working with the young people. I was 16 years old at the time, and the pastor said, "What kind of musical instrument do you think that God plays?" So everybody was guessing big things, like big bass drums, grand pianos, maybe a harp, because they played harps in heaven. When it came my turn, I immediately thought, God plays the flute. And then there was 2 more kids that, there was three people with flute. So I followed the instructions on the little card that said, chant Hare Krishna, and your life will be sublime. And Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I never heard that word before, sublime. I looked it up in the dictionary. It said it. Sublime means that which is in order, that which is peaceful, and that which is happy. So I made it to the temple. He told me where to put my shoes, and I looked at there was a stack of shoes, like a bookshelf all the way. I never seen so many shoes outside of a shoe store. And I came up the stairs, and there was a devotee named Bhāgavatam. And he was painting a life-size picture of Radha Krishna on the front of the Krishna book. Big picture. He'd been painting it for months. We're still working on it. He said, "This is God." So I looked up, and there was Radha Krishna. And I said, "I always knew that God played flute." So then the program started, Jayapataka group. Yes, leading Jayapataka, about how the body changes, but the person stays the same. You look in the mirror where a little person and say, "This is me." Now if you look in the mirror right now, you can say, "This is me." And you'll have another body later that will look completely different. Everything, all the cells have changed, they will look different. But you'll still say, "This is me." So that was a good explanation of how the body changes, but the person stays the same. My introduction of Bhagavad Gita should Prabhupada here. And then we had the arti and the kirtan, and I started chanting and dancing a little bit. And there was a devotee offering arti. He did the peacock fan, and then he fanned the audience. First he fanned the DVDs, then he fanned everybody else. And then he put the peacock man away. I thought, why did he stop? That was nice. It was a hot day. And then we went on to the Shana. I've been a vegetarian for a while. And I never had anything like this. The Prashad was, of course, everything was cooking to eat back in those days. There was no oil in the kitchen. And the preparations just kept on coming out. There was substitutes, there was malport, there was sweet rice, there was porridge, there was pakoras, there was chutney, two kinds of chutney, there was different kinds of rice, yellow rice, white rice. After I cooked that Sunday feast, I said, I'm going to eat like this for the rest of my life. So basically, I'd already learned. And then they brought me into the book room, gift shop, and sold me a stack of books. So I mentioned the Prabhupada in his books. I took the books home, opened it up. I got a Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Christian book, Jewish Upanishad, and Perfection of Yoga. So first I opened up the Bhagavad Gita and tried to read it. It said, Tirupati Vacha. And that didn't make any sense. I couldn't see there was no vowels in the word Tirupati. So then I went to the Christian book and it had a preface by George Harrison. That was easy to understand. And then it had these pictures of a little blue boy killing monsters. So that was interesting. Then I tried to listen to this book, Jewish Upanishad, Om Pranamaya, 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 Pranamaya. It had complete whole, God is complete whole. So many units emanate from God, but He still remains complete. So I thought, that's God. 16 years of Christianity, and I never understood God. It's easy to say it. One page to should have Prabhupada's books. So then I got permission from my parents. Peter Bondu got permission from my parents if I could move into the temple. So I came and spent the night in the temple and started going to the morning programs every day. And I had to go to high school during the daytime and then come back to the temple at night. So one day, I was sweeping the basement of the temple and I saw a back of Godhead, a stack of back of Godheads, and I looked at some of them. there was an advertisement for the Radha Traveling Sankirtan Party. So I saw former Vishnu Swami, Vishnu John Swami, Shri Radha Damodar, and I really wanted to do that. So I sold some things and got a ticket and went to Florida. When I got to Florida, Gainesville, Florida, got to the temple, and Vishnu John Swami and his band were spread across the lawn in front of the temple singing these bhajans. Everybody here heard of Vishnu John Swami bhajans? We all have Prabhupada said he's a guitar. Same here, we put in small Vishnu Swami, invited everyone onto the bus. And I began a life of book distribution from 10 in the morning until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Everything in the summer. So we worked very hard and sent a lot of money to build Mayapur. And the Radha part was quite sad. There was this festival with Vishnu John Swami, and there was book distribution, and Jayapataka came on board. He was he was like the bhakti leader. He was surely Radha was the stand-up. And one day it was announced that we were going to see Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was coming to Atlanta, Georgia. And we drove all night on the bus. And we got to the temple in the morning, just in time for Mangal Arati. So we cleaned up and Mangal Arati, and Prabhupada went out his morning walk. And right in time for the reading, Srila Prabhupada came back, and I got to see Srila Prabhupada for the first time. When he came into the front door of the Atlanta temple, he wanted to go. He lit up the whole place. It was like the sun glow that somehow rolled its high. The sun's not very big from our perspective. And it seemed like the sun glow had just come to earth and rolled in the front door. Srila Prabhupada was so bright and effulgent. And then as he was going by, the first thing I noticed is how fast he was. Because Srila Prabhupada was close to 80 years old. We all know that when we get old, we get a little slow. Okay, when we get real old, we get real slow. We put moving all together. But Prabhupada had some kind of benediction. He had a youthful existence, and he was really moving, and his servants and all the young men and boys, they couldn't keep up with him. So Srila Prabhupada, and then thing I noticed is that he wasn't quite touching the ground. It was an interesting phenomenon. I was watching, it seemed like he was like walking on water. You know, I would say Jesus walked on water. But Prabhupada, wherever he went, he was just not exactly floating, but it was speeding across. He didn't leave footprints in the snow, for instance. You probably don't have a lot of snow here, but Prabhupada, if you ever been in snow, and Prabhupada walked on snow, he didn't leave any footprints. He walked on the grass. Same thing, no footprints. So Srila Prabhupada had, that amazing mystic power. And then he went into the temple room, and Srila Prabhupada was there for the reading of the deities. The curtains opened, and Govinda prayers began. Srila Prabhupada paid his obeisances. So I paid my obeisances, and then looked there, and then suddenly Srila Prabhupada's feet lotus feet were just right there in front of me. Without hesitation, I just grabbed him. He had on these maroon socks, and I held on to Prabhupada's lotus feet until he started getting up. And then Srila Prabhupada, he sat down, gave Srila Bhāgavatam class. About the verse it was, he told me. The day before, Prabhupada had given a similar class. When he talked about about Lord Chaitanya and your mercy and how the Christian consciousness is spreading all over the world, every town and village. This is February 1975. And Srila Prabhupada, he went into Samadhi. He couldn't talk anymore, and tears poured from his eyes. And the devotees that were close to him actually got wet with Srila Prabhupada's tears. And then after the morning program, Swami introduced each one of us to Srila Prabhupada. So we all lined up. Around our party was about 25, 30 men at that time. And we lined up and we all had a flower. When it's my turn, I put the flower on Prabhupada's desk, made my obeisance, got up, and then Prabhupada was looking at me and he told me, "This is Dr. Michael who joined our party at a young age." So I was 16, which is a few years younger than most of the other devotees. Prabhupada looked up at me and smiled and said, very good. So we sat down, and then Srila Prabhupada, we thanked us for distributing his books. So I put that as a lifelong instruction and keep on distributing his books. And he said that if you could save Brahmacharya, would save yourself a lot of trouble. He didn't really say that we had to save Brahmacharya. He just said that if you can, you save yourself trouble. And my Guru Maharaj, she went from Brahmacharya to Sannyas. And then he said that you have a good leader with the law of Krishna Goswami. You just follow him and how you please. So, we've got this memorable moment. And Srila Prabhupada, later on, he gave an explanation he gave a special program where he had us all learn the word of the song, Paramakarma. Using the technology of the time, Srila Prabhupada had Paramakarma Bhāgavatam on Xerox, so we all had a copy. And Srila Prabhupada was playing the Ganga. First he had an devotee who was trying to play the Ganga, but it was a 1-2 beat. So far we've always done 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But this time it was 1, 2. So the devotee playing the Ganga couldn't get it right. So the Prabhupada said, "I will play the Ganga." So Prabhupada got the Ganga and then he played. It was just amazing watching Prabhupada play the Ganga. And then there was a Sunday Feast lecture, and I asked Prabhupada asked if there's any questions, but I asked if Hare Krishna my devotional service. He said, "Just chant Hare Krishna and everything wants to come." It's very simple. That was the lifelong instruction. And then the next day was Bhakti Saraswati's first appearance day. Srila Prabhupada offered our people Bhakti Saraswati. Another amazing sight. And Prabhupada also, many things happened that week. Prabhupada formed the Bhaktivedanta Institute, the Bhaktivedanta Library Party, and the devotees. So gave it the name Bhāgavatam. So Jayapataka Swami followed up on that and down there to celebrate the Bhāgavatam festival of Shantipur in Bhāgavatam. So this is quite a boost to the Bhāgavatam party. We went back out and expanded for the next 6 months. The buses went from 3 buses to 5 buses, from 30 men to 140 men. about July 1975, Krishna Swami was running this like an army of Sankirtan devotees, and he had a map of the country, and had these buses going, and there was 20 vans, 5 buses, 140 men, devotees distributing books inside airports, shopping malls, fairs, and at the same time putting on the festivals at universities. Krishna Swami or one of the bus leaders, they all could sing the Bhāgavatam. One university, I remember Krishna Swami brought so many people, they were listening to his kirtan, and then it was Rashad, and then the Krishna Maharaj would go out and distribute back to Godhead magazines and convince people to come and join the bus. He'd say, just try it out. You knew that if somebody tried Krishna consciousness, then they would take the Krishna consciousness. So then we got to Chicago, and Srila Prabhupada initiated the whole party. Everybody that wasn't initiated. So one day, Srila Prabhupada initiated 80 commentaries. When it came my turn, he looked down at me and he said, "Your name is Vishnu Bhagavan, just chant Hare Krishna." And he raised wonderful. And then he installed 4 sets of Gauri diabetes. The Radha bus had Radha, and now Prabhupada put Gauri inside the other 4 buses. And Srila Prabhupada had a press conference, and Srila Prabhupada said many things about Krishna consciousness. And one thing he said that really caught the attention of the reporters was that women have less brain substance than men. And he told about the professor that Scottish Church professor that said women's brains are 64 ounce or 32 ounce, men's brains are 64 ounce. So, if Mataji's hearing this, she may be thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm a genius. I have a PhD in psychology. But Prabhupada, he always kept on stressing that intelligence is just a material thing. Somebody may have more or less, but it's not a qualification for going back to Godhead. A year later, Prabhupada's, and then the newspaper articles were all just about that subject. So a year later, Srila Prabhupada was in New York, because we went out and brought another party after Chicago. We had a huge Christmas marathon, and then we saw Prabhupada, we went to India with Prabhupada, and then we saw Prabhupada in New York for the Bhāgavatam Festival. And Srila Prabhupada was giving lessons and said, in Chicago, it caused a great agitation. And I said that women have less brain substance than men. But actually, this isn't bad. But one should not take it as that intelligence has anything to do with going back to God, and everybody is qualified. And I was thinking about how to understand that. I was just thinking that intelligence is just something that men have any more of because they're endowed with that because they have to give protection to the women. Just like with the man's intelligence, you may see that how this he may put together one of these lights or functioning, built this building, designed it. And women can also do anything a man can do by following instructions. But women are more powerful than men. Prophet also said, after all, it starts off with women beginning with Srimati Radharani. She is dances the goddesses of fortune, the dances of Raja, and the queens of the world. The goddess portion expands as Guru Devi, Mahamari. She expands as all the women of the world. When women become devotees, they quickly be Maya Devis, they become Devi Dasis, they become Lakshmis, goddesses of worship, like becoming the servant of Krishna again, with the lost. And men start off, as mentioned in this verse, Lord Brahma, or first Krishna, and Krishna comes to Lord Narayana, and Lord Narayana comes to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is really quite smart. A very intelligent person. He's got 4 heads. He creates the whole universe. And Guru Devi, or Parvati, she's the power that controls the whole material universe. When I work in Dallas, Texas, I take my car to a place that fixes it. And this auto shop has about 10 men that are really intelligent and they know how to fix cars. And they're all run by one woman, the manager. And the lady who runs the auto shop, she doesn't have to know how to fix cars. She knows how to manage. It's a natural propensity to be a controller of these men that fix the cars. So, Srila Prabhupada went on in New York to say how women are actually very qualified to go back to Godhead. As we see with the deities, Krishna, and we saw it last night with the Sham dance. Does Krishna want to have the Rasa dance with a team of rocket scientists? Or would you rather be with the gopis? The gopis they're the highest devotees of Krishna. And they wander through the forest and they say, where is Krishna? And they talk to the plants, they talk to the trees. Have you seen Krishna? So the scientists may say, well, that's not very intelligent. Talking to the plants can't reply. So the love for that Krishna has for the gopis, the love the gopis have for Krishna, that's the highest love. When Krishna sent the cowboy boys out to get Prashadam, the Brahmins were very intelligent. And they ascertained the scriptures, but they couldn't figure out that they should get some food for the cowboy boys and Krishna. But the wives they had love for Krishna, and they pleased Krishna by giving food to Krishna's devotees. So, as I said, we were in Chicago and then we went on to a trip to India when we had to Malkishmar. Said they were all going to Mayapur and Vrindavan to Gorpurima. This is March 1976. So we loaded up on an airplane in New York and we took over the whole airplane. That was pretty amazing day. The whole 747 completely filled with devotees, Air India. So even the pilots and the stewardesses were also devotees. They were Gujaratis. So we had the full program on the airplane. With RT, EMATs going down the aisles. The kirtan being led by Swami, the speaker, the public addresses. Everybody was dancing. The plane was bouncing. It's astounding. We got to Mayapur. As soon as we got settled at Mayapur, and Malkishmar immediately sent all this Radha men out to the main gate to do book distribution. Everybody else was going on party run, and they had, the cameras on, and we were in a holiday mood, but for us, we've been doing book distribution 6 days a week for 2 years. Tirupati then was like Tirupati is now nowadays. So then Vishnu John Swami disappeared. And then Swami got sent to China. And that was a wonderful moment. Prabhupada, a lot of Catholic men were devotees like myself who had given up our temples to be on the bus. So the temple president stated like that. So they all got together and they approached Prabhupada and said, we can't make this anymore as long as Maharaj keeps on tracking all of our Brahmacharis. And they don't want to be on anymore. And they just want to travel again. So Prabhupada says, go Swami. So, what are we going to do with you? And all the Shvara said, I don't know, Prabhupada. Maybe I should just go to China. Prabhupada said, yes. And Swami said, no. I just was joking. And Prabhupada said, Krishna spoke to you. And he said, no, I can't. Prabhupada, I have this lot of dollar party. I'm sending $40,000 a month to build this temple, including this lotus building that we're in right now. I have to keep that going. Prabhupada said, no, you are going to China, and let us take care of the party. And then Guru Krishna said, well, Prabhupada, I'll go to China. And Prabhupada said, no, he must go. And then the morning walk began. So Prabhupada went up on the roof of the lotus building, and I followed along. I wasn't really supposed to be on the morning walk, but I put the shutter over my head and kind of squeezed in there. So we got on the roof of the lotus building, and Prabhupada was so happy, and he had this cane and this bead bag, and he turned around and he was walking backwards facing the GBC and sannyasis that were on the morning walk. He held his arms out. He said, you'll all be happy to know. So, he's going to China. It seemed like Prabhupada was the only person happy about it. Everybody was being banished. But that's all right there. It turned out, Swami Maharaj did. He took that as his life mission. And now we have thousands of devotees in China. And I went on another morning walk with Prabhupada. He stopped and he liked to quote about his books from the university professors. And then we went to Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada gave class every single day. And morning walks and darshans. So much mercy, so much association. And we got back to New York, and Swami Maharaj was preparing to go to China. He was decided that it wasn't the right time, and then he became Prabhupada's personal servant, right-hand man until Prabhupada left his body. And Srila Prabhupada, he gave a darshan that I got to go to. Irma was there, and her father, and she was holding a baby. Irma, she's a school teacher, very senior in Vaishnava. And Srila Prabhupada said, told her father, this is real love. She doesn't want anything back. She just really loved the baby. That was recognition in return. And her father said, well, I can't really relate to loving God, but I like to serve humanity. And Prabhupada said, if you want to serve humanity, first you have to love God. If you love God, then you can love everybody else. He used the example of a pond. You have a pond of water, you can put rocks in the middle, and they expand evenly. But if there's different interests, then there's conflict. So by loving God, the love expands from Krishna, born out until again he comes to the lotus feet of God. And I like how he said the lotus feet of God. He always says lotus feet of Krishna. But in this case, he was talking to a man who was a Christian, and he explained it as the lotus feet of God. And the next day was a Bhāgavatam festival. Bhāgavatam, Jayapataka, put the golden hearts. Our President Donald Trump donated some land. The Bhāgavatam hearts to be built. Devotional service that he wanted Sunday when he's talking to Yama Rocks that have come up in his favor. So that's the Bhāgavatam carts were being built, and they used this hydraulic flagpole that bring the dome up and down. But at 10 o'clock at night, the day before the Bhāgavatam, the flagpole went up, and immediately just snapped in half and fell over. Johnny Young looked up there, and right before it snapped, he said, "It's going to bust." And as soon as he said the word bust, boom, and the whole thing came down, and we were just speechless. Everybody just stood there for about 2 minutes. Dead silence. And then Johnny just said, "Well, let's get to work." And he put together a system, a manual system like they use in Tirupati, where you put pieces of wood on top of one another, and you put in another stick of wood to keep one from falling in it. And somehow the next day, the Bhāgavatam carts were ready to go. And they came down Fifth Avenue, and Srila Prabhupada was stirred up, and he got on Subhadra's cart. And it was a great victory parade. This was 1976. And in 1966, 10 years before that, we've seen pictures of Srila Prabhupada. He's all alone in New York. No temples, no devotees. Now, it's 10 years later, Srila Prabhupada has fulfilled the mission of the spiritual master. There's 108 temples. And Prabhupada is coming down Fifth Avenue, the most important city in the world, the most important street in New York. And Srila Prabhupada's got the 3 carts all riding on our buses, and flatbed, and 2,000 devotees. And it was such a great honor that Srila Prabhupada had come down, had accomplished everything, and now here was going to Washington Square Park, which happened to be where the first Marian was. Washington Square Park is pretty famous at the first time that they had the first Marians, because that's where the picture was taken. The movie that Prabhupada chanting under the tree in Washington Square Park. But actually, the first Marian outside of the temple in New York in 1966 was in Washington Square Park. And now Prabhupada can come back to Washington Square Park after 10 years of success in spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the world. And it was Prabhupada gave a lecture. He didn't really give a lecture in the sense that he just told the story of Lord Jagannath. King Indra and the carver, and how he really wanted the deity, like King Madhava, and he had these man carve the deity, and the door opened, and then he stopped carving, and then he had Lord Jagannath. So Prabhupada, he didn't talk about how not body or any philosophical courses. The topic of the goal of philosophy, Krishna Lila, and the advent of Lord Jagannath. And then there was a Christian extremist that interrupted Srila Prabhupada, and he had a sign that said, "Turn or burn." And he was waving the Bible, and he started yelling at Prabhupada, "You have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior." And Prabhupada stopped stop for a moment. There was this one African devotee that I saw him. He started kind of like a train, you know. And then he started going really fast. And the man was standing on the wall of the fountain of the park. And this devotee, boom, and knocked the man, went flying through the air and landed in the water. Not Prabhupada just stopped him and said, "There's a problem." And Maharaj said, "No problem, Prabhupada." The Prabhupada went out and finished the story. And I read in Maharaj Sar's Transcendental Diary that Srila Prabhupada was really entertained by this incident. He said, "Did you see how that black devotee, how he knocked the man into the water?" Later on, Prabhupada talked about it in his room. And Srila Prabhupada went to Europe, and that was the last time that he was in the United States of America. So we very much appreciate the opportunity to have Srila Prabhupada's association for those 3 years, 74, 75, 76. And Srila Prabhupada, he left his mark in America, and he ended it there in Washington Square Park, his last public appearance. Srila Prabhupada. Sharply at 9 o'clock. It is 0900 hours and 1000 hours. The buses will be leaving and we'll be on our way. I can speak for all of us. This spiritual safari group that we are extremely pleased and thankful for all of your wonderful hospitality, the association of all the devotees of ISKCON Tirupati. ISKCON Tirupati ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.